How's it going, friends? Welcome back to the next episode of Hot News. Whether or not you're here for me or you're here for the news, I just want to let you know that you're welcome here at the UFD Tech channel. Let's just jump into the news after I tell you that today's video is brought to you by our very own website, UFD Deals. If you're looking for hot deals on tech items around the internet this holiday season, check out UFD Deals because we compile the best deals, put them all in one co-located area, and then you just click on the button. We get an affiliate kickback. You save money. It's a glorious venture for everybody and anybody in between. So go ahead and check out UFD Deals. Link for that will be in the video description. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into hot news and get to the first little bit that we got. First, before we get started on the actual news topics, I do want to say that in our last video where we talked about the Titan RTX cards, we did happen to indicate that Gamers Nexus might have had a Titan RTX on display on their shelf. We were promptly proven wrong, obviously, that it was a Titan V, and we just didn't catch that. I took sources on the internet and reiterated them as something that I thought could happen. I did hedge myself, but I shouldn't have included it at all. Gamers Nexus did comment on the last video. I pinned the comment so everybody knows that we did make that mistake, and you shouldn't blame Gamers Nexus. They obviously were not displaying the Titan RTX box like other influencers were on the internet, and that's our bad. I screwed up. We'll get better in the future. And we're sorry to both Steve and the Gamers Nexus crew, as well as to our audience, because we shouldn't have done it. Let's blast through some gaming news before we go on into the titular news piece about the Walmart PCs. And first up, let's talk about Resident Evil 2 and its remake. So we've known about the Resident Evil 2 remake for quite some time, and we're pretty sure we've seen footage for it before, but here is some more. There are 5 new clips out from the Resident Evil 2 remake. They're extremely short, but they show off the game's pretty new environments, the weapons, the items, the gameplay elements, and the enemies that are even grosser than you remember. So if you're looking forward to this game from your nostalgia days, if you want to make sure that your bubbly juices of nostalgia are ready for when this game releases, go check out those trailers. We'll leave the link for that in the video description. And then, in case you haven't heard of the Game Awards, it's an award show where they hand out awards for video games. We're expecting that they are going to announce 10 brand new games at the Game Awards. So it hasn't historically been all that exciting or that eventful because it's about just giving out trophies and all that nonsense, but that might change this year. So Jeff Knightley has announced on Twitter that we can expect to see at least 10 brand new games being announced at the event, whether or not they're going to be indie titles that some people care about and some people don't, or they're going to be full-on action blockbuster releases, also known as AAA titles, remains to be seen, but we're looking forward to this one. And finally, people are trying to get the FTC to look into loot boxes in video games. And in case you don't know, loot boxes are basically gambling in video games where you pay for a chance to win a specific thing that has monetary value, and it's a randomized chance whether or not you can win it, hence gambling. And there's been plenty of crackdown in many different countries and states regarding gambling, and now it looks like there's a push by some lawmakers in the US to actually get the FTC to look into it, to hopefully pull back from AAA publishers putting this into their games. The biggest issue that I have with loot boxes is the fact that we're already paying for a full AAA game. Then on top of that, you get microtransactions. And then on top of that, there are loot boxes for cosmetic items. And yes, while it doesn't change the game, it does inherently mean that these AAA publishers are trying to make a whole butt ton of money from us. Even though they're already charging us fully for the game, they want more than that for they're just greedy. They're just greedy people. And if you want a full breakdown on loot boxes and all that kind of stuff, I'll leave some links to Extra Credits and Jim Sterling giving you 2 diopic positions on that. Diopic, is that even a word? It is now. And then lastly, we've got Valve, who's trying to actually incentivize game publishers to put their games on Steam. So it's been no secret that EA, Bethesda, Activision, Battle.net, all of that, they're trying to put their own games on their own launchers, remove them from Steam. And Steam is trying to incentivize game publishers to not do that by upping the share that they're actually paying out to the game publishers. So Valve has reduced the cut of game sales that they're taking depending on how many copies of the game has been sold. After a game rakes in more than $10 million, Valve will reduce their cut from 30% to 25%, and after $50 million, that'll go down to 20%. So this really doesn't incentivize indie games, but more the big AAA publishers. Hopefully we can get things like Fallout 76, even though nobody's playing it anyways, to be actually on a good launcher instead of the Bethesda one. That one's all right, but I'm thinking more like Battlefield. That one sucks. I hate Origin so much with a passion, and Battle.net's not that great either. I want everything in one place. Obviously, we don't want to give Valve too much power because obviously bringing a monopoly into anything isn't necessarily a great idea, but I think that I hate opening up multiple launchers. It's kind of stupid, and I just want one, personally speaking. Even though from the economic standpoint, I'm against it, Practical Brett's all for this one. Okay, so that's the end of the game news. Let's go ahead and talk about what we got in the title today, which is Walmart abandoning their gaming PCs, at least from the looks of things.
Hey, check.
So this doesn't apply to their laptops, but primarily to the desktops that we've been seeing floating around on the internet, from Gamers Nexus to Bitwit to Linus. Everybody's taking a crap on these things, talking about how the power supply is super shoddy, how the graphics card isn't even plugged in when they're actually being shipped out. So when you try to boot up the system, it doesn't actually work because it's not there. And then like the cable management's really messed up because some pieces are hot glued and others aren't. And like there's no USB 3 front headers. Everything about it screams a cheap but decent budget build system, but when you go to Walmart's website right now, you can see that the overpowered gaming desktop DTW1, which has an i7-8700, GeForce GTX 1070, 256 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, and all of that doesn't exist on their website anymore. You'll see that it says information unavailable. We're unable to show you buying options for this item. Please try again later, with a reference to the CyberPower PC. Their laptops are still up, but it does look like that Walmart may have pulled these things from the time being for the quality control issues that we may have been seeing with these things, or it could be from the negative backlash, or it could be just like what happened with NVIDIA when they pulled the 2080 Ti from being in stock. They said it was out of stock, but they accidentally pulled it from the entire store page. I did try to contact Walmart support to find out, is this item coming back or is this just a full-on removal? And basically they said wait 10 days and then you'll see. So there might be some more news coming out at this point, but it seems like the Walmart PC, at least from the way I'm viewing it, is a failed experiment, because not only did they pull down the entire product ability to purchase the product, but they also pulled down the product images as well, making this kind of look like a non-starter. So any of you who got the Walmart PC during Black Friday or such, congrats. And anybody who's looking to get one for the holiday season for your brothers and sisters, look elsewhere. Get from an actual good OEM. And unfortunately, we never got a chance to take a look at these PCs since we're in South Africa. There's no Walmart here. We have Game and Macro, which are owned by Walmart, but they don't bring this kind of stuff to us. But it also looks like I'll never have that opportunity ever again. We'll see where this goes, if Walmart brings it back, if this is just a listing error, or if it's in fact them admitting that their PCs were actually kind of crap and maybe nobody should have bought them in the first place, which actually wasn't true. There's just like the graphics card like should be plugged in. That's at a very minimum. You should have most of your systems running when you pull them out of the box. Anyways, moving on to the next topic. Speaking of something that's worth buying if you do like big panel monitors, ASUS has announced a brand new 1440p FreeSync monitor, which is curved, 32 inches, has a 144 hertz refresh rate, a VA panel, and 125% sRGB coverage, as well as a 4 millisecond response time. If that's not everything that you might want in the monitor, I don't know what is. It also does have a max brightness of 450 nits, which technically puts it on the lower end of an HDR SKU, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna be full HDR. Again, this is curved, 32 inches. If you like big beefy panels for 1440p gaming with a high refresh rate, you can check this out. Pricing and availability is not yet announced, but if we know ASUS and we know anything, is gonna be a pricey boy. Then we also have Elgato announcing their Cam Link 4K, which allows you to actually stream 4K cameras to your PC, which the only reason I can see this working is for like screen recording or like professional level broadcasts, because who in the heck needs a 4K camera for a live stream when most of your viewers, one, aren't going to be viewing it in 4K. Most people don't have the bandwidth to upload in 4K, and I don't think that the compression that you get from downscaling 4K to 1080p is actually going to be worth it, depending on the bitrate that you're actually streaming at. I think for something like what we do here at the UFD Tech with our live streams over on Twitch, you can check that out. Link for that will be in the video description. We could do 4K streaming, but again, the opportunity cost of how many people are actually gonna be able to watch it, I'm not sure that exists, but it's a cool little product. So it's just a USB interface and it has an HDMI on the end. They include this little dongle to make it a little bit easier depending on what's going on. And you could just use a camera to this and then you get 1080p footage. Now you have the 4K one, which will allow you to get 4K. I don't know who needs to use this. Let me know in the description. Do you think this is worthwhile for you at all, or anybody that you know for that matter? And then we've got more talking about Apple's new AirPods, which should be coming out in 2019, supposedly. Obviously, we were expecting them to release them sometime earlier this year when they announced the new iPhones. That didn't happen. They had a secondary event for the iPad Pro. They didn't announce the AirPods there. So apparently, Apple analysts are saying that they're expecting the AirPods to come out sometime in 2019 with a redesign. They're supposed to not necessarily look the same. They're supposed to support wireless charging and potentially have updated Bluetooth specs, as well as, this is the shady one, is noise canceling as well as waterproofness. We'll see if that actually happens. I'm excited because I love the AirPods. Even on Android without an iPhone, these are the best wireless in-ear Bluetooth headphones that I've ever had, because they just sync perfectly, the volume's perfectly clear, the charging, the battery, all of it's great, and everything else that I've tested, at least in the same price range or cheaper, is a lot worse. So AirPods, I'm excited for that. You guys might not care. You might, I don't know. I can't recommend these things enough. I picked a pair up for my wife for Christmas because, like, holy crap, they're delicious. So now we have also some possible Galaxy S10 information, depending on how much you want to trust this one. So we've got the tipster on Leak who provided high quality renders of the Galaxy S10 Plus. The renders reveal a horizontal triple camera setup on the rear of the device, which would just be a rotated version of the new phone that Samsung just launched, and then a dual camera setup in the front, which, if you hate notches and you hate bezels, holy crap, is this one annoying. It's just a little ocular space in the front of the display and is so glaringly annoying. I cannot stand this. I hope this is a fake render because it's terrible. And the device is also believed to have Samsung's new Infinity O panel. So we're also supposed to retain the 3.5mm jack, and it'll have a 6.1 inch display for the S10 and a 6.4 inch display for the S10 Plus, and then a fingerprint sensor built into the front of the device, which of course it is, because that's how everything's going at this point. And then we also have information from a sensor manufacturer for the S10 stating that we should expect it sometime around Mobile World Conference in 2019, which of course, that's kind of when Samsung launches their phones. Not a whole lot of news there, but the leaked renders make me want to gag at that front little ocular cutout for the cameras. No, don't do that. Anyways, I'm not necessarily excited for the Galaxy S10 Plus or the S10. You guys might be, so that's why I'm bringing it up right now. We'll see. But then we also have the Pixel 3 Lite, which I think a lot more people will be interested in. It's going to be a budget version of the Pixel 3, kind of like how the iPhone XR is the budget version of the iPhone 10. We've got some leaks of that appearing. Hopefully, Google increases the quality control on these freaking devices, because the Pixel 3 was a little wonky. And then we're expecting that the pricing on this should be a little bit lower than the current pricing on the Pixel 3, but it'll still have a 1080p resolution, have a Snapdragon 670 processor, 4 gigs of RAM, and 32 gigs of storage on a 5.6 inch IPS display, which isn't a bad phone, especially if it comes in at right around the $500 price point. Although if you've seen MKBHD's latest video showing that the Pocophone is the one that goes toe-to-toe with the best of all the smartphone cameras, a $300 Xiaomi phone might be the best bet for a lot of people out there. And then let's talk about Elon Musk and his pot smoking days over at Joe Rogan, and obviously drinking bourbon on that show. And in case you don't know, there was a podcast, Joe Rogan had Elon Musk take a puff of weed. It doesn't look like he inhaled. He became meme culture for the rest of his entire life, and he was berated by big wigs in giant companies saying that this is not how we run to represent our companies. So it does seem like NASA has a policy on record for their contractors saying that they want the companies to maintain a program for achieving a drug and alcohol-free workplace, which obviously can be argued that Elon Musk was not in work when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, therefore it's not necessarily a violation of that. However, the argument that comes in is that he's representing that type of culture for the company and for the people who work for NASA, and that's not something that NASA wants to associate themselves with. And NASA has gone on the record to say that Elon Musk will not be showing his pot smoking habits on public in the future, although it doesn't seem like a habit, it just seems like he partook because somebody asked him to. Anyways, NASA did say that their stance on this is because of accidents they've had with their space program in the past, saying every single one of the accidents that they've had a number of complications. Of course, the technological piece was a big part of it, but the other question that always comes up was, what was the culture of NASA? What was the culture of our contractors, and were there people that were raising a red flag that we didn't listen to, and ultimately did that culture contribute to the failure, and in those cases to disaster? So NASA's taking a hard approach from this, like we don't want our astronauts to die, so we want to have a very straight edge program. I can definitely understand that side of it. Obviously, it was in Elon Musk's personal time, so they can't necessarily penalize him for that, but if you're the face of a gigantic corporation, it makes sense that they would want you to do this. How do you guys feel about that? Let me know down in the comments down below. And that's gonna wrap it up for hot news today. Let me know what you thought of what we talked about today. Are you excited to see that Walmart's PCs are gone? Are you excited to see that Papa Elon's not gonna be smoking any pot any longer? Are you displeased with the state of the current loot boxes? Let me know anything and everything down in the comments down below. And if we missed a news article that you wanted us to cover, be sure to let us know down there or in our Discord, because we do have one of those. Even if we're not regularly chatting in there, you can leave some suggestions on news that you want us to cover in there. And the link for that is always in the video description, even if you don't know about it. Anyways, this video was brought to you by our UFD Deals website. Be sure to check that out if you're looking to save money on stuff around the internet for cheaper than what you normally, that's money saving. That's what I'm trying to say here. Anyways, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see your smiling faces again in the next video. Love you too.